Chris White.
What I thought was the beginnings of a hemorrhoid. Wasn't concerned about it. And now it's starting to kind of give me a little bit of discomfort, a couple of months. I had another lump that grew in my groin, grew rather quickly, and it grew very big and very fast. Words cancer never even entered my mind, but I go and see the doctor. It was a lymph node. I got clear margins. I'm sent it off to pathology. I go into the proctologist. Still the words cancer is not entering my head. I hear it in his voice, and he's like, I think it's cancer. The whole kind of wave of emotion, shock factor kind of goes kind of shaking up. And he goes, Chris, we got the pathology back. It's a metastatic form of malignant melanoma. Gave me the phone number for the oncologist. Definitely recommend you get a second opinion. Set me up with a PET scan the very next morning. Just kind of rang a bell how huge of a sense of an urgency this was. What you have is called anorectal mucosal melanoma. It forms in mucous membranes. It makes up 1% of all melanoma. There's no known cause for it, and there's no standard of care. And this being such a rare cancer is extremely aggressive that we need to attack it aggressively. We're going to do another surgery. It's a lymph node dissection surgery. Plan was to do some targeted radiation to my rectum. You need to do probably fertility preservation. I end up doing the surgery. I end up doing the radiation. Down for that PET scan, little biopsy ultrasound. They were able to tell me right there on the spot, like, this is confirmed melanoma. You still have it in you. Real somber and real sad. And I just remember walking with my mom going like, oh my God, this sucks. It starts telling me about how it had metastasized, was in my lungs, my liver, my lymph nodes. Getting all confused, like, what are you talking about? And kind of shock mode of like, you're kidding me. My doctor comes in and he says, okay, we got to attack this very aggressively. Like, Chris, you got to remember, you have metastatic terminal cancer. Still able to function, go to work. I kept a positive attitude, tell people what was going on. Hey, I got stage 4 of this terminal cancer. Now the pain's here. It was getting really intense. Stopped to it, put some brakes on it. So I kept my mind busy. I kept my body busy. Something is better than nothing. We need to still continue to be aggressive with this. I moved out of my apartment. I was living with my mom. I literally had full-blown colitis, and I was rapidly losing weight. I couldn't really keep anything down. I couldn't get back into any kind of treatment until I fixed the colitis. And so that landed me in the hospital for like 6 days. I actually, for the first time, looked like I had cancer. I looked sick. I dropped weight. I wanted to get back into treatment. I wanted to get back to work. I wanted to get back to life. You won't believe how much Netflix you can watch when you literally have nothing to do. I signed a contract to buy a house. I needed something to look forward to. Things aren't really getting any better. And out of all of our options, a clinical trial called TIL therapy is you would take a tumor, extract it, they send it off to a lab, they grow that specific cell that caused everything to mutate into the billions. And 1 week before they're actually giving you your TIL back, you enter the hospital, which is like negative day 7, deplete your white cell count down to 0. So that way when they give you your TIL, you're a blank slate. The TIL's in a bag, it's grown into the billions. Words, they follow it up with an interleukin or IL-2, up to 6 of them. It sends it out like Pac-Man, like entered your body, and then once you do the IL-2, it jump starts, and it's like throwing a match on the fire. And then they go running out throughout your body, and the Pac-Man eat up all the cancer like all the little dots and cherries until they're gone. It's like that there's so many of them that they just overwhelm the existing army. This treatment's been around since the 80s. It's been in a clinical trial setting. That did this biopharmaceutical company called Iovance running a trial. It's a phase 2, cohort 4. It's literally for metastatic melanoma, but they're accepting mucosal melanoma patients. It's 57 locations all across the globe. I sign my consent. I do the extraction. And third surgery to the exact same spot. Scar looks like the flux capacitor from Back to the Future. You have to have, like a 30-day washout period. And I just started feeling so crummy, no appetite. I wasn't moving around. My knees were swelled up, and I was now again starting to look like I actually felt, which I was able to hide for a very long time. Well, I do my baseline scans. I did my brain MRI, go over the results, and this time I'm getting wheelchaired into the doctor's office. When I go in there, the PA that was in just immediately comes up to me and gives me this big fat hug, like it was the last time she was ever going to see me. She's never done that before. You now have a brain metastasis. It's 1 centimeter. It's on your occipital lobe. This actually kicks you out of the trial. Exclusion for the requirements to be in the trial. You can't have brain metastasis. Kind of overwhelmed with emotion. Was like, this is not happening. It's not over yet. What can we do? What are my options? She said, well, I actually already went ahead and I called and asked them. Clinical trial had a end date that was not movable. They had a timeline that would backtrack from what would be my day 0. What I had to do was treat my brain metastasis to stabilize it or get it in reduction and be able to prove that by a certain date so they would let me back in. And that date was on Christmas Eve. December 10th, I had to go see the radiologist. I'm going to need 5 sessions of SRS, targeted radiation. First, we have to make a mask. And before we can make the mask, you need insurance approval. Filling out my will, the end of life kind of stuff. I remember listening to my mom on the phone with insurance every day going, this is my son's life. The doctors are recommended, need a peer review, crying. You know what I'm saying? And it finally hit me for the first time. I was like, holy crap, this could be it. If I don't get into this trial, there's no other option. I was just real blown away. My mom was such a beast. She was intense. 6 days later, we finally got insurance approval. Got my mask made, my 5 sessions, but I only had 4 days. I did my 5 sessions, and on the 4th day, I did a double dose. And then I scanned on Christmas Eve, 2019, January 2nd, and then followed up with the oncologist on the 3rd to find out whether I made it. The warmth and the love, I'm not going down without a fight. Everything that I can, you never give up. Chance is only 1 in a million. There's still a chance. You're saying I got a chance? How big that smile was? Hey, there's an opportunity. It's not over. Fly out on January 2nd, again, wheelchair to the airport. I go in on January 3rd, find out it's called pseudo-progression. It means it goes up before it comes down. Originally it was 1 centimeter, now it's 1.2. Thank God I didn't look at the report ahead of time, because I would have just freaked out. You're saying it's good and you're letting me in. You're in, and then just this huge sense of relief that came over me. Oh my God. And, still in the game, you know what I'm saying? It kind of gave me this adrenaline. I entered the hospital on January 8th of 2020. I started my week of chemo depletion. Everybody was still kind of shocked that I was still hanging in the game. The trial was closing. This was the last opportunity. Well, the day finally came. So January 15th, 2020, my bag of till, billions and billions of these cells, and it's kind of there's all these people and everything, and I'm like, oh my God. So they hooked me up to the IV. They give me my till infusion. I'm watching the monitors. Next part's the IL-2. I got all 6 doses every 8 hours. Pain was so intense. They let me play music, so I would crank up a lot of Wu-Tang Clan, Rage Against the Machine, Method Man, to get you fired up. They had to watch my levels enough to let me out. So they let me out the hospital on January 20th, 2020. They gave me a certificate. I got to ring their bell. It was a total of 12 days in the hospital. When I first went in there, it had me as a fall hazard. Eventually just started walking around the halls. Even during the same days I was doing the chemo depletion and the IL-2. So actually in March of 2020, COVID hit. So a lot of intense anxiety. It's time to get back to life. Towards the end of 2020, they thought I had a complete metabolic response. So another PET scan in October of 2020, and all I had was this one little spot. Blow-up PET scan, and that spot was gone. My TIL therapy treatment in January 2020 was the last treatment I ever did. After 18 months of going through pure hell, I finally found something that actually worked. It eradicated my cancer, and I've scanned clean and clear ever since. The brain lesion went completely gone. Everything else is completely gone. On a couple of pillows and grow my beard, I could totally rock Santa Claus during Christmas. I know that pays well. I was the very last person in this trial. 90% of all cancer are solid tumors. This is designed for solid tumors. Your quality of life, TIL therapy. You can do this one treatment one time